All right, here's an update. The bench is a fucking mess. We're going to clean that today. I won't make y'all watch that because nobody wants to fucking clean. Tractor is pretty much the same. I got a new seal in this bad boy. I had to remove the cover to get the kill plunger, stop plunger, whatever the fuck they call it. It had gotten stuck and it wouldn't let the tractor start, so I had to take that cap off to remove it, or to get it freed up. That allowed the tractor to fire over, so I got a new gasket on that. Put that back on there. I'm gonna get some tie wire probably here in the near future, which goes through these nuts. Those two nuts on top, here and here, and they tie it up so they don't backspin off. Today I'm going to blow these lines out. These are the transmission lines right here. I'm gonna get some brake cleaner and blow them out best I can. They come up here. They go right there. The two at the top, yeah, you can see those two. One over there and one there. They actually run through that cooler down there. Blah, blah, blah. Come back up here. I have cleaned and painted the spin-on filter housing. Here's that right here. There's the spin-on filter housing. I got to remove the tape off of it, but that's where those two lines go. So I get two new O-rings on those lines. Bolt that back down. It was just rusty, so I de-rusted it and hit it with some paint. No big deal. So that pretty much sums up the tractor. There's not a lot else to do here. The torque converter's back. That should be good to go. I know I've been getting in a habit of marking when I've done this, what all I've done to it, and who did it, me, on a visible part. So I'm gonna do that here. I'm gonna put my name, well, the company already put my name on there, but whatever. I'm gonna put my name, you know, what parts I replaced. So for me, you know, the torque converter rebuilt will go on there. The clutches and plates rebuilt will go on there, or replaced will go on there, and all rubber seals replaced will go on there. And that way, you know, if I forget or I die and someone else gets in here, what have you, it's really easy to see, you know, what was done, when it was done, and blah, blah, blah. And so I've liked doing stuff like that, especially on this equipment I know I'm probably not going to be in for a long time, or I may never be in. So it's helpful. I've been in a couple of machines where some other people have done that, and I've liked it, so I'm stealing that idea. This was painted. Excuse me. This was painted, and it came out really good. I ended up throwing this plastic on it, and I did it like 3 hours or 4 hours after I painted it, and did it by myself, and it was really tacky, and the fucking plastic was sticking to it in about a million different places. Big pain in the ass to get on here. Did not have fun. I ended up throwing a piece of steel there and a piece of wood back here to help keep it from sticking. So fussed with that for a little bit. Finally got that back on. This has been like this for about 3 days. I've got two heaters in there, two little heaters in there, and it's actually, you know, I don't want to say it's hot by any means, but it's actually warm. The paint was dry to the touch the next day after that. I don't think the paint's anywhere near done or cured. I think it still needs probably a couple weeks like this, but I don't have that luxury. I don't have that time. I should be getting my torque converter plate, flex plate in today. I'm going to get, hopefully, this bad boy stabbed back together, hopefully running and operating. And then we're gonna go from there. But yeah, this kind of worked good. And obviously it snowed yesterday in the morning. This is the next day, hence yesterday. And we still got a little bit of snow on the ground. It'll probably be gone today. It's probably 38, 40 degrees. So snow in Texas doesn't stay very long, but this thing stayed pretty warm all throughout. So that's kind of nice little trick that worked out pretty well. If I do this again, it's definitely gonna be a bigger sheet of plastic. This is all I had. Ideally, I wanted it to droop over and then on the ground on all four sides, and then I could put bricks around it. But it was too small, it barely fit, and like I said, it's on the ground on one tire, but this tire I needed yeah, it became a fucking mess. But I don't really care too much about this. I would love for it to look perfect and be pristine and beautiful and last forever, but reality, I painted it to keep it from rusting. That's the reality. That's what I did for it. It's gonna get scratched, it's gonna flake off, it's gonna get fucked up. I don't like that fact, but this is not a show tractor. This motherfucker's gonna see a bunch of hot suppers. So I just wanted to, since I had it this far, I wanted to get any rubber replaced, and I wanted to get a nice coat of paint on there to just help slow down the rust. And it also helps you find leaks. When you have raw steel, it doesn't show oil leaks, especially transmission fluid, as easily as you think it would. That color, I guarantee I could see a leak on it from a mile away, which is kind of annoying because it's ugly when it does leak, but it's nice for tracing leaks and figuring out what the fuck's leaking. So I'm gonna get to cleaning out the shop. I'm gonna do a little housekeeping here. Gotta pick up the power washer and get the jack out of the yard and the jack stand and clean this shit up. It's kind of a muddy shithole, and then I'll put a little bit of time in there. And actually I think I'm gonna go to the store and pick up probably 20 gallons of hydrolima fluid. So Xander says hi. Hello, Xander. Say hi to the people. All 2 of our viewers. He's in here because it's wet outside and we do not like a muddy puppy. So, all right guys, I'll bring you back when I've got something fun and exciting to talk about. Okay guys, we've got this thing in here. Still looks pretty good. Pretty disappointed in this paint after fucking with it and other parts that have been dry for 2 weeks plus. Flakes off pretty easy. It's just shitty paint, which is kind of disappointing because Tractor Supply sells it and it's for tractors, so you'd think they would be half decent. But whatever. It's not a show tractor. But anyways, we got these bolted in. Oop, shit. Those 2 little brackets hold it in. I didn't mean to do that way, but I'm out of gas from my acetylene torch, so I can't bend them as tight as I want to, so I just welded some brackets on. They look kind of gaudy, but better than nothing. So we'll set this up. Probably try not to be in a crooked angle and let you guys watch me struggle to put this together. Alright, I gotta get the jack stands out from under this, so I'm gonna bring chain hoist back over the top and get all the jack stands out from under it because the tires look like they're gonna hit them. Ugh, screen's all dirty. Alright. She is under her own weight now. We have the U-bolts to reuse to clean them up. Electroplated them, put some paint on them. New bolts. Painted all that good stuff. I still got the chain hoist on. Safety measures, but it's not, they're not holding any weight. Yep. I ended up getting the lines on the wrong side of the differential lock. I ended up just taking this lever off. There's a bolt down there and a pin, and that was the easiest way to get it up and around. So we're gonna keep chugging along at it. Hopefully we'll have this bad boy moving under its own power here pretty soon. Yeah, okay. Alright, so next morning, I actually drove this around and ran it last night off camera. Kind of got in a hurry and didn't want to bother filming it, and battery died and blah, blah, blah. So, we ran it last night. It runs. It drives. It seems to drive fine. I'm not seeing any major problems with it. Shifts good. I would like to see a little more powerful in first gear. And what I mean by it is some of these tractors, well, maybe not these years, but some tractors I've been on, when you put it in first gear and it's at an idle or a little above an idle, the brakes barely stop it. And they just want to go. And this one's not quite like that. As soon as I'm on the brakes, it slips. Revving it up a little bit does a lot better. But I think that's the outcome of those clutch plates being flat and not curved. I think if they were cupped, I guess is what the manual calls them. If they were cupped, I think they would grab a little harder. But I'm not sure. But I mean, that's not a terrible thing in all retrospect. I haven't pushed anything with it yet, so I don't know how how perfect it is, but everything seems to check out. It drives, it runs, so I'm pretty happy about that. Today I've got some buttoning up to do. I got some wires to clean up, and just some odds and ends. I want to get this thing fairly decent before I switch projects. For time being, the motor is gonna have to be rebuilt. It probably needs it right about now, but I'm not putting the time and the money into it right now. It's got quite a bit of blow by, and honestly the oil pressure is still really good. It runs at 60 to 80 psi whenever I'm running it, at least according to that gauge, and I see a lot of indications that that gauge is probably fine. So most likely what I'm probably gonna do is I'm gonna run this until I either start getting bad oil pressure or sporadic oil pressure, or until the motor sounds bad, like sounds like there's something wrong in it. Blow by, for me, I don't like it, but this is an old tractor, and I don't think a little bit of blow by is gonna be the end of the world. So I do need to work on some linkage. I've got all the throttle linkages right there, and they still kind of stick, so I'm gonna pull it back apart, and I'm gonna put a little nylon spacer between here and a little less tension on the spring and see if that fixes it up. I'm not a big fan of the way they did all their linkages. They're kind of sloppy. For example, like the throttle, I can turn it about an inch before it even, turn it about an inch before it even engages, you know? And that's not the end of the world, but it is frustrating. I was able to find some firewall grommets that fit these pretty good, so I'm happy about that. I've got to put the new shifter boot on. I put the old knob back on the shifter. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to clean this up, obviously. I'm going to take this return shit off, and I think I'm just gonna run just a regular return. This is, it comes up to here and it goes over into here. And I think what it was is, back in the day, I don't think their batteries were as powerful, and that, from what the book says, that is a not a block heater, a heater. It heats the intake, heats the air coming in, and it uses the fuel and some power, I guess, to make a small fire here. I think that's retarded, but whatever. And that heats the air up. I'm gonna go ahead and pull all that off. It's Texas, we don't hardly ever need it. It was 30 degrees yesterday, and this thing still started up. I mean, it took a little bit, it took probably 20-30 seconds of cranking, but it fired. So if I end up needing some sort of a grid heater or something, I'll modify like maybe a Dodge one, or I don't know, something in there, and then try that. But I'm gonna get rid of all that. It'll clean this up a lot. It's one less thing to start leaking, etc, etc, etc. So, and I actually may have some steel lines this size I can use. I gotta go in the shed and go dig around. I still need to add a little bit of fluid to the rear end. I put about 12 gallons in there, and it still didn't come out the weep hole. I didn't want to put much more. The front took about 8 gallons, 9 gallons. I initially put about 6 in it, and then when I ran it, the level dropped because it had to fill up torque converter, had to fill up all the lines, had to fill up the filter. So, but yeah, it shifts forward, reverse, no problems. Shifting gears, no problems. It will not go forward to reverse with no fluid running through it, and it will not go forward to reverse with high fluid. So if it's at an idle, it shifts like glass. If it's revved up a little bit of rev, it'll still shift, but anything past a little bit, it won't let you shift. So I think that's an intentional lockout they built into this to try to keep people from revving it and dumping it into a gear, which I'm fine with. I mean, I prefer someone not be able. So okay. Let's go through what I'm gonna go through. I got off topic. Clean up the wiring, so I'm gonna do that today. I'm gonna pull the valve cover off. I'm getting a little bit of valve tick, a little more valve train noise than I'd like to hear. I'm gonna inspect, make sure we got oil going up there. I'm gonna lash the valves, the wiring, lash the valves, clean up that boot and all that, fix the throttle, put the seat back on. With the seat, I'm gonna modify this too. This is something else I've been needing to work on. This is the levers. You pull these together and it retracts the pins, and then it lets the seat flip to the backhoe position or the drive position. These suck. I normally have to use a pair of pliers. I have fairly strong hands, but I normally have to use a pair of pliers because I don't know if the spring tension's wrong or what. So I'm gonna try to pull this apart, and I think what I wanna do is I wanna put a groove in it so I can pull one, because I can pull one easily. It's pulling both of them. So I'm thinking where I can pull one, turn it, and lock it into a locked position, and then pull the other one. And if I can get it apart, I may just put weaker springs in it or crush the springs down a little bit. I'm not quite sure, but I'm gonna do that before I get it all back together, because flipping this to the backhoe or to the drive position is just fucking really painful. So, and it shouldn't be. Yeah, we'll clean up the extra lines. And then I think that's about it for this one. This will go back out in the yard for time being. I need to bolt the steering wheel back down. These all go for the tack. I may go ahead and put those back in. And I've got a sending unit that goes over on this side. I think I'm gonna try to put that in today too. When that's not a sending unit, it's a pressure switch, excuse me. So that's the plan for today. My power steering's also pretty weak, so I think I'm going to do nothing with that for time being, because I've got other things I need to do. But like I said, most likely I'm gonna run it until I can't, and then I'll pull this motor off. It looks like it's a sleeved motor, so I think for $1,500, $2,000, I'll tear it down and I'll take it to a machine shop and have them go through the crank and the bottom end and the head, probably new valves and new springs and all that good stuff, and freshen that motor up, and then I'll do the rest. And then after that, I mean, I pretty much got damn near a brand new tractor. So But until then, we're gonna run it and go from there. I do have some clearancing. This radiator. This radiator contacts the fan contacts the shroud because the radiator mount for the fan was off a little bit. I've bent it out a little bit, but it still has got an ever so slight ting every now and then. Very frustrating. So I'll probably stick another bar in there and beat that out a little bit more. I hate to do it that way, but I don't really feel like pulling a radiator. So other than that, no major leaks I'm finding. I am finding a little bit of oil weep, which I believe is a head gasket. I believe one of the oil passages on the head gasket is leaking. It is accumulating a little oil right here, and it does kind of pool up and run down. So I'm not got any oil in the water or water in the oil. So I think it's just an oil passage between basically the outside and the oil. And it's not squirting out, it's just kind of dribbling out. So like I said, I'm gonna keep an eye on that, and if it starts leaking oil like a pig, I may just pull the head and put a head gasket on it and see if that was what it was. The oil pressure is still good, so I'm not too worried about that. So I don't know, we'll just keep going with her the way she is, and hopefully I can get 1,000 or maybe 2,000 hours on it before I have to do a rebuild, because I'd like to get this thing making me a little money before I dump some more in her. So I guess I'll find a place to prop y'all up. You can watch me do all this slow, tedious, boring shit, and then we'll go from there. All right, we got it running. I don't know if you can hear me, but we'll try. I'm putting up a bunch of stuff. I got the valves relashed. They were off quite a bit. I quieted down the valve train quite a bit. I wish I had a video before I lashed those valves, because it was clattering a lot worse than now. So it actually sounds pretty good. Drives pretty good. I'm pretty happy. Got the seat back on. I said I was gonna modify this, but to be honest, I greased the piss out of it and fucked with it, and it's not terrible. Still not my favorite, but I'm gonna run it. So I think I'm gonna go put the hoe back on, and I kinda wanna dig me a fucking hole. But it's been idling here for a minute, letting everything warm up, get up to temperature. And everything is pretty good. No major leaks, no major rattles or clings yet. I'm gonna check the coolant, because I drained the coolant completely to do the freeze plugs, and I topped it off, but I'll check it, make sure there's no more air bubbles. Hopefully it don't spray me in the face. And it's a little low. So I'm gonna finish topping this bad boy off, and then I'll let y'all see me driving it around. I'm sure that's what the only reason you guys probably even watch this. There we go. I'm gonna top it off and I'll bring it outside. can beat the dark. Probably not, knowing my luck. I got a little piece of hose I gotta fix before I put this back on. You guys can probably see it's a little hose goes right there to there between two cylinders. I'm just gonna get me a little piece. I think I've got some in the shop, and we'll get that fixed up. I didn't put anything under this like I said I was. Probably should have. I'm hoping the hoses all reach, and then I'll just connect all the hoses and use its own hydraulics to pick itself up. Should work. We'll see. All right. I'm gonna add some hydraulic fluid. I lost a little bit and it was already low, so. And this actually needs to be flushed. This hydraulic system's contaminated with a little water, but not today. It's full, but it needs to be, definitely needs to be flushed, unfortunately, which is kind of expensive and kind of suck. See, maybe how milky that is. I don't know how I got that much water in it at one point, but it did. Alright, I'm gonna dig out a few of these trees because I want to. We got a bunch of trees, I got little trees I need to dig out of here, but today I'm just going to get a couple of these and clean this up. Well, that worked pretty good. It was much easier than getting the tractor in here, believe it or not. This particular soil is just super soft, and it snowed not too long ago. Now I'm all milted, and so this really has to be dry for like 3 weeks before I can get a tractor on it. What happens is you can get on it like once or twice just fine, but about the third or fifth time you drive over it with your little front tires, they just sink down to the axle. Fucking miserable. But this is nice because I can just park here, dig out what I need and drive. I don't have to drive over it 90 times. Plus it's a little easier to get the root systems with this. But I'm a little rusty. I'm gonna have to practice some more. I haven't operated this bad boy in shit, probably 15 years. So I'm gonna swing around and grab a few more for daylight's over. You can hear the fan shroud hitting the fan just a little bit. I need to modify that. That'll be on probably the next thing. I flush all the hydraulics, and then I'll need to fix that. Will probably be the two important things I need to get to next. But as far as I'm concerned, man, this thing's running pretty good. So I'm pretty happy about it. All right, let's dig up a few more trees. All right, I don't know if I'm gonna have enough time to pull this out before it gets dark, and I don't have the canopy and the new lights on yet, but we're gonna try. I cut this down not too long ago and burned most of it, and it's growing back, so let's dig it the fuck out. Alright, probably couldn't see shit, but yeah, you can. Way faster than digging it out by hand or with the tractor. So I'll bring you out tomorrow in the daylight and you can see what mess I made.